Hey everyone, Vince here from AutoIndustriya.com, and what I've got for you today are two examples of the Toyota Yaris Cross. We've been waiting to get our hands on these vehicles last year, but a few things kind of precluded us from doing so. In this video, we'll be focusing on this variant. This is the Yaris Cross 1.5V non-HEV. There are many good reasons why you are seeing so many examples of the Yaris Cross on Philippine roads. I mean, let's list them all right now. 1, it's a Toyota. 2, it's a Toyota. 3, it's a Toyota. Of course, I'm joking, but Toyota really built their dominance here in the Philippine market, and that's why they command almost half of all vehicle sales in the Philippines as of right now, more or less. We'll double check those numbers, but I have a feeling that is going to be the case for 2024. And Toyota really put in the work to dominate the market so well. They blanket every single market segment that we can think of, and probably ones we haven't even thought of yet, because they're now covering so many types of crossovers. If you want a really affordable crossover, then you have the Toyota Raze, which is basically a crossover-fied Wigo. And then you have the RAV4, which is a bit more expensive now, but it's basically a crossoverized Camry, would be the right term. And then you have the Corolla Cross, which is a crossover-fied Corolla. And then now you have the crossoverized, that would be the right term, crossoverized Yaris right here that we have for the Philippine market. Now, if you're looking at this and thinking, that's not the Corolla Cross, then you must be in Europe or another part of the world, because the Yaris Cross that we get in the Philippines is not the same as the one that you guys have, which is a bit kind of, it almost reminds me like the Subaru Bug Eyes back in the day. This one, a bit sleeker, and it uses a different platform. This uses a DNGA, not a TNGA. We'll get into all the details of that later on and how it affects the overall experience. But when it comes to style, we like it. And we understand why a lot of people are gravitating towards the Yaris Cross, because wow, it really does look good for such an affordable vehicle, or at least, they're planning it to be a starter kind of vehicle right above the Toyota Raze that we have, or Daihatsu Rocky that you may have in other markets. The LED headlights look really good. The way they do the front end kind of reminds me of, maybe Ford Fiesta back in the day. The way they do the grille, the shape of this, the inverted Superman grille, it's even like a bit Mustang-ish. That's kind of weird to say about a Toyota, but the way they do the lower bumper looks very aggressive, very aerodynamic. These aren't vents. This is like it's a mounting point for the fog lights and for one of the eyes for the sensors of the vehicle. And mind you, it does have quite a few sensors because it comes with Toyota Safety Sense. More on that later. Right below, you've got the Toyota emblem, but it's not the blue halo thing that would signify it's a hybrid. It's just a plain logo. But interestingly enough, in the Yaris Cross Hybrid, we'll show you in a week maybe, the Toyota logo there also doesn't have a halo, which is odd. And here you can kind of see that crossoverness of the vehicle because they got the fender flares, but more importantly, the ground clearance, it does seem a bit better than the Yaris that this may be based on, but the Yaris actually isn't based on this yet. It's a whole different weird thing. Anyways, the wheels look really good and they come with Bridgestone Turanza tires. One thing we did notice inside here, the stab link is a bit high because the link from the stabilizer bar to there, it's a bit long of a thing. Kind of strange, but it is a 5-door crossover SUV, purely front wheel drive. But it's going to be something that's really ideal for urban situations where you're going around town, you really want a bit of height and a bit of clearance to clear humps and all that stuff. So it is a 5-door, and the way they have it set up in this version that we're driving is they have a black roof with the red body and then the cladding right there. Very well executed, by the way. The roof rail here, this is plastic, keep that in mind. But I think you will be able to mount something once you remove that. So if you want like a roof rail, I'm sure there's a way to do that somehow. Our friends over in the customization shops can certainly do a lot with these vehicles. But what's really strange about this Yaris Cross is that the glass here is only like a little hole there, but the whole thing is glass because the way they did the C pillar is a bit strange when it comes to mounting for the, seat belt right there. That's kind of odd. Does have a spoiler here, but I think the interesting thing to talk about here is going to be the cargo space. I'll say this now, if you remove the T badge and all the other badging, you can probably get away by fooling your friends that it's a Lexus. Just kidding, don't do that. You shouldn't do that to your car. It's a Toyota first and foremost, or actually, it's a Daihatsu, but more on that later. Now, the design though looks really good, and even the way they do taillights, it does remind me a little bit of the Lexus headlights from old. You know, the ones on the IS back then, they have the L there, they kind of still have it here now. Looks nice and clean, looks nice and neat actually, and the way they do the lower bumper with the FOS skid plate there, it's not going to be for off-roading, but still, looks really good. This one being the V, it has the, there you go, I didn't press it hard enough. It has the power tailgate. And when you open that, and also has the retractable tonneau cover here, which is a nice feature by the way. When you open that, you've got a space that measures about 34.5 inches from here to there, 40 inches wide between the wheel wells, a maximum of 54 right here, 30 inches from here up to, when you start hitting that. And then if you fold down the rear seat 60-40, well, this, in this case, the 60%, you get about 59 inches, maybe even a little bit more if you extend all the way to the front seats of space in your Yaris Cross. But the great part about the vehicle is that it's actually kind of modular. There's a lot of storage here. For example, you can move this down, and when you do that, you've got an extra 4 inches. And let me tell you now, 4 inches extra do matter. Now, even here on the wings, you've got compartments here, right there. Same with the other side, which is actually a nice thing to have. In the other Yaris Cross, the hybrid will show you it doesn't have that. It has something else there. Now, when we open this, let's say we want to show you where the spare tire is. It's actually got a nice full-size spare, not a space saver, right there. Yes, it's very, very yellow. It's like somebody spilled their, you know what? It almost looks like it's inspired by Ayrton Senna's helmet. Pretty nice thing. Now, when we close it, again, being a power tailgate, you do get that. So yeah, that about does it for the space in the Yaris Cross. And please, don't put an L badge here. A D badge would actually really be nice right here. Powering the Toyota Yaris Cross V variant is a 1.5 liter naturally aspirated auto cycle, meaning the regular 4-stroke cycle engine. It makes 106 PS and 138 Newton meters of torque. It has a CVT and it's driving the front wheels. And the reason I mentioned auto cycle 4-stroke is because there's a variant of this, which is the hybrid, which runs on a Atkinson cycle, I think. You know what? I'll double check all of that right now. But I wouldn't be surprised if they use Atkinson cycle for the hybrid, because that is the normal way to go, particularly with Toyota. When it comes to their hybrid systems, Atkinson is more optimal, supposedly, for a hybrid system where it needs to be at higher RPMs and then charge the battery. And auto cycle, the regular 4-stroke, meaning suck, squish, bang, blow, those regular 4 strokes, is more common and more apt for something like a regular ICE vehicle. Now, there's one glaring thing about the Yaris Cross, and that is when it comes to the economy, meaning they build this to be as affordable as possible, and you're going to expect some things that are different when you pop the hood. For one, the whole vehicle was not painted when it comes to the interior. So you can see it right here with the engine bay. I mean, nobody really looks at the engine bay, only us who like to be under the hood and check out stuff. But you can see a bit more of that right here, because this is all the primer coating, the base primer coating. And then you even look at the interior panels here, because this being a crossover, it rides on a car platform, which is DNGA, more on that in a bit. But you can see the lack of paint on the interior panels. Nobody's gonna look at it anyway, but still worth noting. It saves you a few bucks and a bit more time at the assembly or the paint shop with the vehicle. So it translates, all these little dollars and cents translate to big savings in the long run for the vehicle across the entire production line. So keep those in mind. But in this one, it's a bit more obvious, because there's no plastic covering this part, there's no plastic covering that, and you can see the lack of paint there. Same with here. So it's not really like they don't try to get the robot in there to paint everything all in one go. So keep that in mind. What else do we see? We see the air intake here, alternators in front. The exhaust would be, actually it's right here in front. The intake would be in the back. Let me double check that now. Yes, it is. I can see the throttle body right there, or at least the throttle unit right there. But the thing about the Yaris Cross, and particularly all of Toyota's DNGA, meaning Daihatsu New Global Architecture vehicles, is the issues that they've had when it comes to the certification and all that of this type. So I can see the DNGA platform here. You can tell when you look at the Toyota platform versus the Daihatsu platform, the way they do the welding, the way they put the panels together, it just looks a little different compared to some of the Toyota units. So that said, I think they've already fixed the issues, or at least some of the issues that they found with the platform, particularly with the raise, where the shock towers, had some issues. So hopefully we won't have that here. I don't think so. Now let's check out what's inside, because there's quite a few things going on in there. So the back of the Yaris Cross, it's not a bad place to be actually. I mean, the cushioning here is quite nice. The seats are actually 60-40 fold, and it's adjustable as well. You know, it has two positions, upright or a little bit reclined, but you do get individual headrests, individual 3-point belts, center armrest here. I mean, 3 people here, you know, maybe, I guess, if you were all thin, but for, you know, like individuals that are a bit bigger, then yeah, 2 is going to be the best way to go. Then you look at the visibility from back here. It's actually pretty good because you're seated a little bit higher than the seats in front. So I can see around, doesn't feel claustrophobic if that's your kind of thing, which is good, even though this one does not get the glass roof, unlike the hybrid variant. So in terms of amenities, I mean, seat back pockets here, nothing really much to write home about. 2 AC vents, 2 USB-C ports down there, which is kind of good. Power windows. So yeah, pretty good overall. The only thing I would really want change, and we noticed this in the Corolla Cross, is the way they position the railings for the seat for these seats. Because when you put your feet down from the back, yeah, it's kind of in the way of your toes. So if you wanted to, yeah, they could have moved it a little bit wider to give you a bit more toe room, so you don't have to, you know, put your feet together like that underneath the front seat. Now let's go over there. So let me tell you now, this is my first time sitting inside a Yaris Cross for the ASEAN market, and first impressions, we'll go through this like pretty much live. It actually looks nice. Like, you look around, the materials, the texturing they use for the plastic, I mean, there's a lot of plastic here, but the texturing they use seems to be pretty good. I mean, looking at this, you know, so long as you don't put like Armor All on it, it's gonna like look really, really shiny, really weird. This one kind of looks like a nice matte, which we prefer. Has a soft touch panel here with the blue fabric or the blue piping stitched into it. Looks nice as well. The hazard button, it's like a nice little, I guess, gem right here in the middle. AC vents. You got this console here, which does look really good. You do have your climate control here, your charging port. So it has a 3 amp USB-C port, USB-A, and then it has a wireless charger, which I like because it really secures your phone when you like put it in there. It's not gonna flap about, which is good. I'm wondering, no, there doesn't seem to be any kind of cooling there, so hopefully my phone won't overheat. That's always been a concern with these wireless charging pads. Then you have engine start stop there, transmission control, PRND, and then sport mode, manual mode on the right side, push to shift up, pull to shift down, and then you have paddle shifters right here. You have auto hold and then your electronic parking brake right there, like neatly tucked in there. You have a dual cup holder here. Actually, it's not really dual, it's like a bottle holder, really deep, and then it has a cup holder that you flip down that makes it a bit more shallow. Now here is the key. So you have your lock, well actually no, your lock is here, unlock here, and then your tailgate open there. This one does have a power tailgate like I showed you. And then what's great, well what's not so great is this compartment here is really, really shallow, which is kind of odd. But it does have your 12-volt outlet there if you want to plug in anything. Right up top, not much to see here, apart from the light, the mirror, night and day, normal, and the in-car DVR that they provide for the Yaris Cross as standard, which is a nice thing. Now, For your primary controls, you got your steering wheel right here, leather wrapped. It's got a nice shape to it, by the way, and a nice texture. I mean, leather, yeah, leather wrapped, I think. And then same with the seats here, but you do have an abundance of buttons here. So on the left, you have your hat switch to control what you see on the screen. Let me get out of that view. And it has different views up there, which is kind of nice. You have your tachometer and speedometer. On the right side, the mileage on this one is 5,965. Now, trip meter, all that. Your 360 camera, this one does come equipped with it. Button is right here. And then you have your features for Toyota Safety Sense. So this one does get the suite of, I think it would be level 2 more or less. The advanced driver assist system. So basically adaptive cruise control, lane keep, all that stuff is right here, including the drive selector button, I guess, if you want power mode or eco mode. So let's say press it short, goes to power mode, press it long, it goes to eco mode with that little light there, which is kind of normal now. So but no fancy graphics going on. Now here, this is the new screen that they have here. It doesn't look like a TV box anymore. It looks like a proper iPad-ish. I mean, that's the goal anyway. A lot of the car makers now, they like to make sure, make you feel like you have an iPod or iPad on your car, and that's certainly the case here. So the graphics aren't going to be like super great compared to some of the other vehicles we tried, but it's still really good. And pretty much you can also change the ambient illumination and all that. You have your features like Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. Wireless Android Auto and wireless Apple CarPlay, which is nice. That means I can make use of the charging pad down here while my Android Auto is hooked up. And right now we do have Apple CarPlay hooked up right there. Looks pretty good. Response isn't as quick. I mean, you can notice there's a little bit of lag, just a little bit, but nothing too major there. But I think the main thing about the Yaris Cross is some of the quality things that you will feel. I mean, these are very, very little things. And I did note some of these with the Corolla Cross. For example, this wing here that kind of covers this side. I mean, if you're seated here, you kind of can't access what's in here. So I guess if you're doing this as a grab, then I guess that kind of makes sense. But this big wing that they've got covering it, it's actually, you see that? That's very little pressure, and it's kind of moving and squeaking. And I imagine when you drive this, the way the panels are rubbing against each other, it's going to squeak a little bit. And that's one of the common things that the common comments about the Yaris Cross. Some of the noises they hear inside the vehicle. Later we'll try to see if we can make those noises come out of the vehicle. So hopefully not too much. And then the other one, when you touch some of the panels here, you can feel a ridge. You know how it is when you have like model kits. I mean, I've mentioned this in other videos before, where you can feel like the seam or from the molding process of the plastic. You can feel some here, most notably right here on the grab handle for your door. The edge of it, I can kind of feel a seam there. It's not sharp, but it's there. So that's something to keep in mind. And also the way they have the surfaces made up doesn't seem like perfectly even to me, like the way the bezel or the housing for the instrument cluster is. You can kind of see a thing there. It's not perfect. Definitely that's something going to be common moving forward. We spotted a few more in the race. This one is better, but still not yet at the level of the Corolla Cross, which also has its things when it comes to the interior. So keep those in mind. But is it enough to turn me off from actually driving it? Well, let's go out and find out. If you're looking for an urban car that you're going to use as a daily commuter, daily drive, then the Yaris Cross, I think, will probably be on your short list. Because it is practical. The size, the visibility, the way it drives, it feels nimble around the town. It's narrow enough where maneuvering it around tight city streets, if Waze takes you on an adventure, is going to be okay. You can see well around you, except maybe the hood. It actually seems a bit long for what it is. So because even when we pop the hood, there's a lot of space in there, so it is a bit longer. But still, it's all well and good in here. Like the ride is actually good for our kinds of roads, and it's kind of a testament to how Toyota and Daihatsu, yes, Daihatsu was pretty much the lead with the DNGA platform, how they worked on the platform and the suspension to handle our kinds of roads. Well, because this is going to be marketed for our kinds of roads, for our kinds of customers. Where the Yaris Cross lacks, though, is when it comes to the NVH. That is to be expected. So, like I already mentioned, the way they do with the plastics, the door, but more importantly, like the noise around you. I can hear everything. Like it's almost not really like the windows are open, but it really does make you look. And you know what? Let me check now how thin the glass is. That's pretty thin. Like when you go into even let's say the other Toyota models, the glass is a bit thicker. And even of course when you go into the luxury and the premium ones, you have laminated glass. So we don't expect that, but the glass definitely seems thinner than some of the other Toyota models I've driven. And also, like when you're sitting here, like right now we are under the LRT we're under the LRT. When a train passed by earlier, I can hear the train on that tracks pretty clearly. So keep that in mind. Even when I use the horn, listen to this. It's like in the car with me. So that's something to be expected in a vehicle like this. Like the sound deadening is not very great. It is what it is. Hear that? That's a train. But what the Yaris Cross lacks in NVH is going to make up for when it comes to the fuel economy. Because not having all the kind of sound deadening and all that, it keeps the vehicle fairly light, actually very, very light for the size that you get. And if you're driving solo, expect around fuel economy around 11. You can probably get more. We're hesitant to say that because traffic does vary quite a bit. And it also depends on the mode that you're on. Like we were in normal mode, we're getting around 11. You can probably get more if you put it into eco mode, but the response of the CVT is not going to be great when you do that. So keep that in mind. If you're trying to get up the hills and all that, or go up into Baguio, you are going to be revving it a bit more. Better to keep it in power mode to give you the response you want, especially when you're overtaking. On the highway, getting around 19 kilometers per liter. But again, it all depends on how you're driving and how many passengers you have in the car. Now that the road has opened up, let's floor it, get into power mode and all that. Yep, you get a lot of noise. I mean, it is a CVT. That is what we expect in a vehicle like with a CVT and a 1.5. It's not a turbo, so it's not going to give you the acceleration that you want, but still, it's a fair effort all in all, because being a light vehicle, it can accelerate fairly well for what it is, so long as it's not too many passengers inside. But I think the main discussing point with the Yaris Cross is the Daihatsu Connection. And it just so happens that by the time we got our hands on the car, a lot of things have come to light about the way Daihatsu has been doing things, and it's kind of proved problematic for Toyota. They have to fix some things internally with the way they do things, and even Toyota is having to deal with some of these issues themselves. And we have no doubts that they will sort it out. But it goes to show that it's the badge may say Toyota, but a lot of the things about the vehicle feel a bit below what a Toyota should be. And that has always been something we've been harping on with Toyota Motor Philippines, that they really should have the Daihatsu brand back as its own thing. So as when customers step inside, they have certain expectations. You don't walk into a Toyota and expect a BMW, or unless you're in a Supra, but you expect a Toyota. And you don't step into a Toyota and suddenly you feel like it's a Daihatsu. So keep those things in mind. It's a matter of expectations and reality, and it's really up to us to kind of show that. And that's why there are a lot of posts online from customers who bought the car, and there's a little bit of remorse because they feel that the product, given that some of the Yaris Crosses that they tried, they paid full price, cash, and all that, and then suddenly when they get inside, they drive it. It feels strange. It feels different. It's not up to their expectations, and that's because they expect a Toyota product. But a lot of the things for the sake of economy, to keep the price down, it's made with Daihatsu. So does that matter to you? Well, you guys let us know in the comments below, because I would love to hear what you think about the Yaris Cross, especially if you've driven one, and especially if you've owned one. it really is weird that whenever I close the door of this, it kind of bounces a little bit. You don't see that in actually any of the other cars I've driven. But still, if you're looking for something that can serve you faithfully every day as an everyday car, I think this would suit you very, very well. It's got all the features you want. It's pretty comfortable. AC is strong, got good ground clearance, good fuel efficiency even for a non-hybrid. But some of the nuances about the vehicle, like the plastics, the way it feels, the way it drives, the noise, and all that, those are things that are going to be trade-offs for this vehicle. And also when it comes to driving fun, I mean, it's enjoyable for every day, for, it's like normal. But if you want a bit more power, there are other choices out there for less price than this, because this one retails at 1.3 million. And the feel, well, I know they can improve upon it, and I really hope they do. So next up, we're looking forward to the other variant. So here you go, Zach. There you go. Utang na loob, nahulog ng bata. Hi.